Think about the last parking lot you were in. There was a lifted truck that has never carried anything heavy. There was a German sedan with a monthly payment its owner doesn't mention at dinner. Here was a luxury SUV that has never seen anything other than pavement. And somewhere in that parking lot, not asking for attention, not announcing itself, there was a Honda Civic. And here is the question nobody asks. What does that say about the person who chose it? Because there are two types of people who drive a Civic. The ones who drive it because they had no other option, and the ones who drive it because they understood something that most people never figure out. And the distance between those two groups is one of the most psychologically revealing gaps in modern consumer culture. This video is about the second group. And if you're honest with yourself by the end of this, you're going to know exactly which one you are. The Honda Civic arrived in the United States in 1972. Small, precise, completely without pretension. And it arrived at the worst possible moment for the American automotive industry, or the best possible moment for Honda, depending on how you look at it. 1 year later, the oil embargo of 1973 destroyed the American muscle myth overnight. Gas lines stretched around the block. The V8, that symbol of power and prosperity that Detroit had been selling for decades, suddenly became a liability, an expensive lie. And into that cultural vacuum stepped a Japanese machine that didn't promise power or status or dominance. It promised something harder to sell and harder to argue with. It promised that you were smart enough not to need the theater. The people who bought it in those early years weren't lowering their standards. They were changing the criteria by which they measured a standard. And that, psychologically, is an entirely different operation, one that most people never perform in their lifetime. Carl Jung described something he called the persona, not the personality, but the mask, the social costume each of us constructs to navigate the exterior world. And in the 21st century, few objects carry that mask as visibly and as expensively as the car you drive. The car you choose is a declaration broadcast to every person who sees you on the road before you open your mouth. And most people, without knowing it, without admitting it, choose their car based on the gap between who they are and who they want others to believe they are. The car isn't transportation. It's a promise, a rolling aspiration, a way of saying, this is what I am, or at least what I want you to think I am. Now ask yourself something uncomfortable. How many of the decisions you make every day are designed around what you actually want, and how many are designed for the imaginary audience you picture watching you? Psychologist Roy Baumeister developed extensively the concept of self-concept clarity, the degree to which a person's sense of identity is stable, consistent, and defined from the inside out, not from the outside in. People with high self-concept clarity don't need the object to speak for them. They don't need the logo on the steering wheel to confirm who they are. They already know. And that internal certainty frees them to make decisions based on what something actually does, rather than what owning it makes them look like. The deliberate civic owner, the one who chose it when they could have chosen something else, is almost by definition a person with that kind of clarity. They chose the car that asks nothing of the ego. And in a world where most consumer decisions are pure ego with an engine underneath, that is not a small choice. But this is where you have to be honest with yourself. Because the civic owner profile is not one person, it's several, and each one reveals something different. The first is the rational decision maker. This person didn't buy the Civic because it was all they could afford. They bought it because they built the complete matrix in their head: reliability, cost of ownership, resale value, fuel efficiency, and the Civic won in every column that actually mattered. This is what psychologists call long-term reward reasoning over immediate gratification, the ability to delay the satisfaction of status today in exchange for the soundness of the decision tomorrow. It's not a common skill. In fact, it's one of the most consistently correlated traits with sustained success across almost every area of life. These are the same people who choose the asset nobody celebrates at a dinner party, but that 10 years later turned out to be right, who read the entire contract, who don't need the decision to look good, they need it to work. The second type is the pure long-term thinker, subtly different. This person isn't allergic to spending, they're allergic to waste. Behavioral economist Daniel Kahneman spent decades studying the difference between the perceived value and the real value of a decision. The gap between how something feels at the moment of purchase and how it feels 5, 7, 10 years later, The Civic rarely produces euphoria at the dealership. But at 100,000 miles, at 200,000, when it still starts every morning without drama, when the total cost of ownership turns out to be a fraction of what the neighbor paid for their luxury car, the satisfaction it produces is of a different kind. Not the pleasure of the spectacle, the deeper and more lasting pleasure of having been right. And then there's the third, the enthusiast, and this one changes everything. There is something that very few people outside of automotive culture understand about what happened around the Civic from the late 1980s through the early 2000s. Young men almost exclusively took base model Civics, modest engines, basic interiors, no factory pretension of being anything more than reliable transportation. And they converted them, with their own hands, into machines that humiliated cars costing 5, 6, 7 times as much on the right road. They didn't do it with unlimited money, they did it with knowledge. And that distinction is everything. Psychologist Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi spent his career studying the state he called flow, that moment of total absorption where your skill level meets the level of the challenge perfectly, where time disappears, where nothing exists except the problem in front of you and your capacity to solve it. The tuner in his garage at midnight, hands in the engine, learning why something doesn't work and how to make it work is in flow. The driver pushing a well-built Civic through a technical mountain road, feeling every imperfection in the asphalt through the steering wheel, every chassis response to every correction is in flow. The Civic, in the right hands, doesn't isolate you from the experience of driving. It puts you inside it. It's light enough that you feel everything, honest enough that you can't hide behind excess, communicative enough to turn every corner into a conversation between you and physics. Compare that to the modern luxury vehicle that interposes between you and the road layers of technology designed to make the experience more comfortable, more assisted, more insulated. Those cars are remarkable. They are feats of engineering, but they make you a spectator. The Civic, driven the way it was meant to be driven, makes you a participant. And there are men who know the difference between those two things and cannot go back to being spectators once they do. The sociologist Thorstein Veblen introduced more than a century ago the concept of conspicuous consumption, the idea that we buy certain objects not for what they do, but for what they say, not for utility, but for signal. Status performed through spending. And if you're honest, when you walk through any dealership, when you look at the cars on any major boulevard in any city, Veblen was right. Most automotive decisions are not about transportation. They are about audience, the truck that will never haul anything. The sports car bought at exactly the wrong moment in life for exactly the wrong reasons. The lease that stretches a budget to its limit to maintain an appearance that renews every 3 years alongside the debt. The deliberate civic owner rejected that system. Not with a manifesto, not with moral superiority, simply with a decision. A decision that psychologists Edward Deci and Richard Ryan, in their self-determination theory, would describe as intrinsically motivated, made from the inside, from personal values, rather than from external pressure around how others will perceive you. Most people live most of their lives on the extrinsic side of that equation, making decisions engineered for an imaginary audience that, in most cases, isn't even paying attention. The person who chooses the Civic deliberately has crossed to the other side. And once you cross, once you see clearly that status is a construction, that the signal is a performance, that the mask has a real and monthly cost, it becomes very hard to pay that cost willingly. Psychologists study something called the hedonic treadmill, the human tendency to return to the same baseline level of satisfaction regardless of what we acquire. The new car smell lasts weeks. The admiration of others lasts days. The payments last years. And the person who bought the feeling discovers, inevitably, that the feeling was borrowed, that it was never really theirs. The person who bought the substance discovers something different. They discover that at 7 years, at 10, when the car still performs with the same precision it had on the first day, there is a kind of satisfaction that doesn't fade. It isn't exciting, it isn't photographable, but it is real. And the real, given enough time, always wins. Here is the truth this video has been building toward from the beginning. There is nothing inherently heroic about owning a Honda Civic. It is not a decision that deserves applause. It is not an identity that should be worn as a badge. The people who turn it into a declaration of superiority are making exactly the same mistake they criticize, just with a different object. What there is in the person who chose it with clarity, with information, with honesty about their own priorities is something the market cannot sell you and no dealership can offer you. There is coherence, the alignment between what you think, what you value, and what you do. The absence of that low, dull tension that lives in the chest of someone who bought something to impress people they don't care about with money they're still paying off. That is not practicality. It is not frugality. It is not settling. It is a form of integrity that very few people manage to sustain in a culture designed from its foundations to convince you that what you have is never enough. They don't drive a Civic to be seen. They drive it because they already know who they are. And in a world that sells you identity on monthly installments, with interest, renewable every 3 years, that kind of clarity doesn't have a sticker price. And it doesn't need one.